short. Today I'm going to show you a couple things. I'm going to make a steak sandwich in the end, sort of the Funktified cheesesteak sandwich. But you know, this technique that I'm going to use to cook steak, you can also use for a whole bunch of other things. A lot of times I will do this and then have the steak around to make other things like fajitas and breakfast burritos. So it's you know, partly this technique's one of my favorite ways to cook a steak. I have a flank steak here, and you know what I like about the flank steak, you know, they're usually pretty big pieces of meat. This is about 2 pounds, and you know, they have nice clean lines and for the grain. So really, if you cook it and then slice it, you don't need to marinate these. You by all means can marinate them if you want to, but you can go to the store and cook it within, you know, an hour of when you buy it. And what we're going to do is we're just going to season this with kosher salt and cracked black pepper, and then we're going to sear it 5 minutes on each side. I have the cast iron skillet preheated over here. It's on like a medium-high heat. I'm just going to put a little bit of oil. This is just like a vegetable oil. You don't need too much. There we go. We're going to set a timer for 5 minutes. And after 5 minutes, we're going to do the same thing. While this is cooking, I'll season the other side. I'll wash my hands first. And then we'll flip it 5 minutes on the other side. Alright, we're getting ready to take this flank steak off. And, you know, it's smelling great. It's looking great. You can see we're getting a sear on the top. We're getting a sear on the bottom. You know, you can see how juicy it is already. And I'm just going to stick this in foil. I like to do a double foil just to make it a little bit thicker, so in case it leaks or something. And then what you want to do is you just want to cover it in the foil, and what's going to happen is the steam, you know, and the heat from the steak will continue to cook it. And after about 20 minutes, it should be about a perfect medium rare or so. We have this flank steak that we cooked earlier, seared it 5 minutes aside, wrapped it in foil for 20 minutes, and then we put it in the refrigerator for about 2 hours. You can do it overnight. I like to do this the night before, and then when it's time for dinner or lunch the next day, then I take care of it. So it can sit in there longer, but it takes, you know, it'll cool down a little bit as you have it setting out, and then it'll cool the rest of the way in the refrigerator. And this should be about a medium rare. We'll see as we cut into it, but I like to cut it into thirds. And you can see this nice grain. This is why this meat is so tender, is you have these real strong grain into the meat. So as we slice them, you have nature sliced it this way for you with the grain, and then your knife slices it this way. So when you slice it real nice and thin, what you end up with is, you know, the meat should just kind of fall apart. Alright, I like pieces about a third, so I'll cut it 2 cuts right along the grain. Vegans beware, you won't want to see this. And here, see, we have a nice medium rare. We have it seared on the outside, and we have it red on the inside. And don't worry, we're going to cook it again. So if you're squeamish about this, you could cook it just a little bit longer on the stove. But for me, this is exactly perfect. And then what you want to do is cut real thin slices, thin as you can get them. And you'll see, you know, especially as this cooks again, this meat will just pull right apart. You know, it's some of the most tender meat you'll ever have. I'm just going to take some, these are just bell peppers. Just going to give these a quick saute. Smells good. Going to keep chopping this meat. It takes a little while. It's worth it. Alright, we're back. We have some of this meat cut. You know, again, you can see this just falls right apart. This is why I love flank steak. And what we're going to do, you know, like I said, some of this is real medium rare. Some of it's just a little bit more than medium rare. But it's going to cook again in the pan. So don't worry about that if you don't like real rare meat. And so what we do is just drop it in the hot skillet. And if we didn't let this cool, you would have never been able to cut it this thin. This really doesn't take very long. Really what you're doing is you're just wanting to warm it through. If you're just doing a couple sandwiches, this, you know, a pan about this side works well. What we're going to do here is we'll put some of these peppers on here. Then we're going to put the cheese on top. I'm using Munster. Like I said, you can use whatever cheese you really like. The cheese will start to melt here, and then you take the bun and put the bun right over top of it. And this is going to do a couple things. It's going to help that cheese melt, and then it's also going to help steam the bun. If you're just doing a couple of these, this is fine. If not, you can, you know, throw the cheese on and throw the buns in the broiler, and that will help melt the cheese if you're doing it for a whole bunch of people. But in this case, you know, this is really how I like to do it. Cheese should be pretty melted by now. This is the trick. We'll see if I can do this without making a mess, which I did. Here you have your cheesesteak. In the bottom you have that melted cheese that forms right to the bottom of the bun. And then we're going to top it with those pickled red onions that we made in another episode. Oh man.
I must have been here at least 1,000,000 times. Out of all the places I could hide, I'm still the one chasing after the sun.
There you have it, Funktified cheesesteak sandwiches. You're gonna love it. Try it with these pickled red onions. Let me know what you think. My name is Dan Valancourt. This is Funktified Food. I will see you next time.